Stella Monroe traced her finger along the architectural blueprint spread across her mahogany desk. Outside her penthouse window, the city glittered like scattered diamonds. She had built her firm from nothing, every building a testament to her refusal to need anyone. The phone rang. Her father's number? Stella. His voice cracked. I need you to come home. 3 hours later, she stood in the study of the Blackwood estate. The man before her looked nothing like the powerful businessman she remembered from charity galas. Dante Blackwood's expensive suit hung slightly loose on his frame. Dark circles shadowed his green eyes. His hands trembled as he poured whiskey into crystal glasses. My father died 6 months ago, Dante said without preamble. He left the company in ruins. Debts hidden in offshore accounts. Bad investments. Everything is collapsing. Stella's father stepped forward, his face aged by desperation. The Blackwood empire is tied to our investments. If Dante's company falls, we lose everything. Your mother's medical treatment, the house, all of it. What does this have to do with me? Stella kept her voice cold. Dante finally looked at her directly. Something flickered in those hollow eyes. My father's will had a clause. If I marry within the year, his life insurance and hidden assets release, enough to save both our families. You want me to marry you? Not a question. I need you to marry me. His jaw tightened. Your father suggested you. Successful, independent. Someone who understands business arrangements. Stella laughed, sharp and bitter. So I'm convenient. You're perfect. You won't expect love. You won't expect anything real. The words landed like stones. Stella studied him, seeing past the expensive facade to the fractures underneath. This man was drowning, and somehow that made her angrier than any arrogance would have. I have conditions, she said. Separate bedrooms. Separate lives. This is a contract, nothing more. Agreed. And when it's done, when the money is secured and our families are safe, we end this. Dante raised his glass. 2 years, then you're free. Stella clinked her glass against his, the sound too loud in the quiet room. As she drank, she caught her reflection in the window. Her own eyes looked just as hollow as his. The wedding was scheduled for 3 weeks later. The ceremony took place in a judge's office. No flowers. No music. Just signatures and cold efficiency. Dante's hand was steady when he signed. Stella's was not. That night she stood in the guest bedroom of the Blackwood mansion, still wearing her cream suit. She had not bothered with a wedding dress. Down the hall, she could hear Dante moving in the master bedroom. The house felt enormous and suffocating at once. Her phone buzzed. A message from her mother. Thank you, sweetheart. The treatment can continue now. Stella set the phone down and stared at her reflection. She had saved her family. She had made the practical choice. So why did she feel like she had just buried herself alive? A soft knock broke her thoughts. She opened the door to find Dante, still in his shirt and loosened tie. His hair was disheveled, like he had been running his hands through it. I forgot to say something earlier. His voice was rough. Thank you. For doing this, it's a business arrangement. I know. He paused, something unreadable crossing his face. But thank you anyway. He turned to leave, then stopped. My mother died when I was young. In this house. My father said love was a weakness that killed her. Made me promise to never let anyone close enough to hurt me. Stella's breath caught. Why are you telling me this? Dante looked back at her, and for one moment she saw past every wall he had built. Because you should know what kind of man you married. Someone who doesn't know how to be anything but empty. He walked away before she could respond. Stella stood in the doorway, heart pounding, as his bedroom door closed with a soft click. She had thought this would be simple. A transaction. 2 years of pretending. But the look in his eyes had been anything but. Empty, and that terrified her more than any contract ever could. 6 weeks into the marriage, Stella found herself working from the mansion's library. Her firm was designing a community center downtown, and she had spread blueprints across the antique desk. Rain hammered against the windows. Turning the world outside gray and blurred, Dante appeared in the doorway, soaked through. His shirt clung to his chest, hair dripping water onto the marble floor. He looked lost. "I thought you had meetings all day," Stella said, setting down her pencil. "Canceled them." He walked to the liquor cabinet, poured scotch with shaking hands. "The banks rejected our restructuring proposal. We have 3 months before bankruptcy." Stella watched him drain the glass in one swallow. She had seen him tired, seen him cold, but never like this. Never unraveling. There has to be another option. There isn't. He poured another drink. "My father destroyed everything. Every good thing he touched turned to poison." "You're not your father?" Dante laughed, broken and sharp, "Aren't I? I married a stranger to save money. I live in this tomb pretending to be human. I am exactly what he made me." Stella stood, moving toward him slowly. "Stop drinking." "Why?" His eyes met hers, and they were full of something dangerous. "Grief, rage, desperation. Give me one good reason to stop. 'Cause you're not alone anymore." The words hung between them. Dante set down his glass, his jaw working. "You don't mean that? This is a contract." "You've said it yourself. I know what I said." Stella moved closer, close enough to smell the rain on his skin. "But I see you, Dante. I see someone fighting to save what matters. That's not empty. That's not your father." His hand came up, almost involuntarily, and touched her cheek. His fingers were cold and trembling. "You should stay away from me. I ruin everything I touch. Maybe I'm already ruined." Something shifted in his expression. The careful control he always maintained cracked open, and underneath was raw need. He pulled her against him suddenly, his mouth crashing onto hers. The kiss was not gentle. It tasted like desperation and scotch and rain. Stella kissed him back with equal hunger, her hands fisting in his wet shirt. All the weeks of careful distance shattered in an instant. She knew this was dangerous. Knew she was crossing every line they had drawn, but God. She was so tired of being cold. Dante broke away first, breathing hard. His forehead rested against hers. "We can't do this. I know. It will make everything complicated. I know." Stella pulled back to look at him. "But I'm tired of pretending this is just business. Aren't you?" Before he could answer, her phone rang. She almost ignored it, but saw her father's name flashing. "I need to take this." Dante nodded, stepping back. The distance between them felt like miles. Stella answered. "Dad, what is it?" Her father's voice was strange. Too cheerful. Too bright. "Sweetheart, I have incredible news. Remember Marcus Chin? The developer I introduced you to last year?" "Yes." Stella's stomach tightened, with an instinct she did not understand yet. "He is offering to buy your firm. Full price, plus a premium. You could pay off everything and walk away from this marriage. Be free." Stella's eyes found Dante's across the room. He was watching her, guarded again, walls rebuilding in real time. "That's wonderful news." The words felt like lies in her mouth. "There's one condition. He wants you to meet with him tomorrow, alone, to discuss the terms." Something in her father's voice was off. But Stella could not focus on that. Not with Dante staring at her like she had just confirmed every fear he had ever had. "I'll be there." She hung up. Silence pressed down on them. "Congratulations." Dante's voice was flat. "You're about to be free of me. It's not like that, isn't it?" He moved to the door, every line of his body rigid. "You get your money, your freedom. Isn't that what you wanted from the beginning?" Dante, wait. But he was already gone. The library felt cavernous without him. Stella looked down at her phone, her father's words echoing. Something felt wrong, but she could not name what. Outside, thunder rolled across the sky. Inside her chest, something very much like her heart began to break. The next morning, Stella dressed carefully. Professional armor. She told herself this meeting was just business. Just exploring options. She told herself she was not running away. The restaurant Marcus chose was expensive and private. He stood when she entered, all charm and expensive cologne. They had dated briefly years ago. Before she had built her walls so high. Stella, you look incredible. She sat, keeping her expression neutral. My father said you wanted to buy my firm, straight to business. I always loved that about you. Akasi smiled, signaling the waiter. But first, let's talk about your situation. My situation? Your marriage. His eyes glittered with something that made her skin crawl. To Dante Blackwood. How is that working out? Stella's hands clenched under the table. That's personal. Is it? Marcus leaned forward. Because I have it on good authority that your marriage is a sham. A business arrangement to access his father's insurance money. The restaurant suddenly felt very cold. Who told you that? Marcus pulled out his phone, turned it toward her. On the screen was a document. A contract. The prenuptial agreement she and Dante had signed, full of clauses about the 2-year arrangement and financial terms. Your father gave this to me, Marcus said softly. He thought I should know what I'm buying into. Stella's world tilted. My father, he wants what's best for you. And I can offer you everything, Stella. Freedom from that loveless marriage. Your firm's independence? And maybe a chance at something real. His hand covered hers on the table. Stella stared at it. Numbed, her father had betrayed her confidence, had sold her secrets to a man who clearly wanted more than a business transaction, and somewhere in that cold mansion, Dante was probably already believing she had done the same to him. Stella pulled her hand away from Marcus like his touch burned. You need to leave my father out of this. Why? He made you a smart offer. Marcus leaned back, too confident. Sell me the firm. Leave Blackwood. I'll make sure your parents are taken care of, and you and I can pick up where we left off. Left off with you cheating on me with my assistant. His smile did not waver. People make mistakes. I was young. I have grown since then. Stella stood so fast her chair scraped against the floor. Every eye in the restaurant turned toward them. Now, my father, the answer is no. And if you contact me again, I will make sure every architect in this city knows exactly what kind of man you are. She walked out before he could respond. Her hands shook as she called a car. The city blurred past the windows as rage and betrayal burned through her veins. Her father had sold her out. Had taken the private details of her marriage and weaponized them. For what? Money? Control. The mansion appeared through the trees, cold and imposing as ever. Stella barely registered walking through the front door. She heard voices in Dante's study and moved toward them without thinking. You need to end this now. Her father's voice carried through the door. Marcus is offering her a way out. She deserves better than this arrangement. She deserves a choice. Dante sounded exhausted. Something you seem intent on taking from her. Stella pushed open the door. Both men turned. Get out. She looked at her father with eyes that could cut glass. Get out of this house right now. Stella, sweetheart, I'm trying to help you. Help me. Her voice rose. You gave my private contract to my ex-boyfriend. You tried to manipulate me into leaving my husband. That's not help. That's control. Her father's face flushed. I'm protecting you from making a mistake. You married a man you don't love for money. That's not a life. No. Stella stepped closer to him. You married me off to save your investments. Don't pretend this was ever about my happiness. The words hung in the air, brutal and true. Her father's expression crumbled. I did what I had to do for this family, then live with it. Stella pointed at the door. And stay away from my marriage. It's mine. Not yours to barter. Her father looked at Dante, then back at Stella. Something like grief crossed his face. He walked out without another word. The door closed with a soft click. Stella stood in the center of the study, shaking with adrenaline and fury. Dante watched her from behind his desk, his expression unreadable. You didn't take the offer, he said quietly. No, why not? You could be free of this. Free of me. Stella turned to face him fully. Maybe I don't want to be free of you. The confession hung between them, raw and dangerous. Dante stood slowly, moving around the desk. His eyes searched hers like he was looking for a lie. You don't mean that. Stop telling me what I mean. Stella closed the distance between them. I'm tired of everyone making my choices for me. My father, Marcus. Even you. Pushing me away because you're afraid. I'm not afraid. You're terrified. She put her hand on his chest, felt his heart hammering. You're terrified that this might be real. That we might be more than a contract. Dante's hand came up to cover hers, pressing it harder against his chest. If this is real, I will ruin it. I ruin everything. Or maybe, Stella whispered, we ruin each other in the best way possible. He kissed her then, hard and desperate. Not like in the library. This was different. This was choosing each other despite every reason not to. Stella kissed him back, pouring every ounce of frustration and desire into it. When they broke apart, both breathing hard, Dante rested his forehead against hers. I'm falling for you, he said, voice rough. I don't know how to do this, but I'm falling. Then fall. Stella's fingers tangled in his hair. I'll catch you. Later that night, Stella lay in Dante's bed, his arm wrapped around her waist. The walls between them had finally shattered. She felt raw, exposed, but also more alive than she had in years. Tell me about your mother, she whispered into the darkness. Dante's arm tightened around her. She was kind. Too kind for my father. He was always cold, always calculating. But she loved him anyway. I think it killed her, loving someone who could not love her back. How did she die? Car accident. But she had been sick for a while before that. Depression, I think, though my father never said. She just got quieter and quieter, until one day she drove into a bridge support. Stella turned in his arms to face him. Dante, that's not your fault, I know. His voice was hollow. But I was 12, and I watched my father not cry at the funeral. Watched him tell me that love was the weakness that killed her, that if I wanted to survive, I needed to never let anyone matter that much. And you believed him. I had to. Dante's eyes met hers in the dim light, because the alternative was admitting that my father was a monster who drove my mother to her death. And I was not strong enough to believe that then. Stella cupped his face in her hands, and now I know the truth. My father was a monster, and I have spent my whole life trying not to become him while following every lesson he taught me. He laughed bitterly. I am a walking contradiction. You're human, Stella said. Messy and complicated and human. He kissed her softly this time, tender instead of desperate. How did I get so lucky to be trapped with you? Stella smiled against his mouth. Maybe we trapped each other. They fell asleep tangled together. Two broken people trying to build something whole from their shattered pieces. But in the morning, everything would change, because Dante's phone would ring with news. That would tear their fragile new beginning apart. And this time, there would be no walking away from the consequences. The phone call came at 6 a.m. Stella woke to find Dante's side of the bed empty, his voice carrying from the hallway, sharp, angry. She wrapped herself in a sheet and found him standing by the window. Phone pressed to his ear, every muscle in his body rigid. That's impossible. We had 3 months. Pause. No, there has to be another way. He hung up, stood there staring at nothing. Dante. He turned. The look on his face made her blood go cold. The insurance company is contesting my father's policy. They found evidence he falsified his medical records before he died. They're not paying out. Stella's stomach dropped. What does that mean? It means we have 2 weeks before the company collapses completely. Before we lose everything? He ran his hands through his hair. The marriage was for nothing. That's not true, isn't it? Dante's laugh was sharp. I dragged you into this. Made you give up your freedom. And for what? We're still going to lose. Stella moved to him, took his hands. Then we fight. We find another way. There is no other way. He pulled away from her. Unless what? Dante's expression shifted into something calculating. Something that looked too much like his father. Marcus Chen is still interested in buying your firm. If we sell it for the right price, it might be enough to save the company. At least partially. Stella felt the words like a physical blow. You want me to sell to Marcus? I want to not lose everything. Dante's voice went cold. This is business, Stella. It always has been. Don't do that. Don't push me away now. I'm being realistic. You sell the firm. We save what we can. Then you're free to walk away from this disaster like you've always planned. Stella's hands clenched into fists. Is that what you want? For me to walk away? I want you to have a choice, Dante said, but his eyes said something different. They said, run before I destroy you too. Before Stella could respond, the doorbell rang. Dante strode past her and she followed, wrapping the sheet tighter around herself. Margaret answered the door. Marcus Chen stood on the threshold, immaculate in a gray suit. I hope I'm not interrupting. His smile was predatory. But I have a proposition that can't wait. They sat in the study, tension crackling like lightning. Stella had thrown on clothes but still felt exposed. Marcus spread papers across Dante's desk with practiced ease. The offer stands. Stella sells me her firm. I pay premium price. Enough to cover your immediate debts. Marcus looked between them. But I have additional terms. Dante said flatly. The marriage ends. Immediately, Stella moves out. Files for divorce within the week. Stella's breath caught. That's not negotiable. Everything is negotiable. Marcus leaned back. See, I did some digging after our lunch yesterday. The insurance company contacted me last night. They wanted to know about your marriage. Whether it was legitimate or a fraud to access benefits. Dante went very still. What did you tell them? Nothing yet. Marcus's smile widened. But I could tell them a lot. About the contract. The 2-year arrangement. The separate bedrooms up until last night. Stella felt sick. You wouldn't. I would. Unless Stella comes with me willingly. Sells the firm, leaves the marriage. Gives this whole situation the legitimacy of a woman choosing her future instead of being trapped. You're blackmailing us, Stella said. I'm offering you an exit. Both of you. Marcus stood. You have until tomorrow morning to decide. After that, I make my call to the insurance investigators. He walked out, leaving his papers behind. The door closed with a soft, final sound. Stella turned to Dante, searching his face for something. Anger, fight, anything but the resigned acceptance she saw there. We could fight this. Prove the marriage is real now, is it? Dante's voice was barely a whisper. Or did we just complicate a business arrangement with sex and feelings? Don't do that. Don't make what we have into nothing. What do we have, Stella? He finally looked at her, and his eyes were hollow again. A few weeks of pretending? That's not enough to build a life on. It could be, she said desperately. If we chose it. If we fought for it. Dante turned away, staring out the window at the gray morning. I'm giving you permission to walk away. To sell your firm, take the money, and save yourself. Because I can't save you. I can't even save myself. Stella felt tears burning behind her eyes. What if I don't want to be saved? What if I want to stay and fight with you? Then you're a fool. The words were brutal. Because I am my father's son. I will drag you down with me. I will ruin you. It's what I do. I don't believe that. Believe it. Dante's hands clenched on the window frame. Take the offer, please, before I destroy you too. Stella stood there, looking at the rigid line of his back, and felt something break inside her chest. He was pushing her away to protect her, or maybe to protect himself. Either way, he had already decided she was going to leave. If that's what you want, she said quietly, then I'll go. She saw his reflection in the window. Saw the moment her words landed. Saw something like grief cross his face, but he said nothing. Stella walked out of the study. Up the stairs to the bedroom that had briefly felt like home. She packed her things with mechanical precision. Each item in her suitcase felt like a small death. Margaret found her in the hallway. Don't leave. The older woman's eyes were wet. He needs you. He doesn't want me. Stella's voice cracked. He made that clear. He's terrified. He's pushing you away because he thinks he's protecting you. I know. Stella picked up her suitcase. But I can't save someone who doesn't want to be saved. She walked down the stairs one last time. Dante stood in the foyer, his face carved from stone. "I'll have my lawyer contact yours about the divorce proceedings." Stella nodded. Words felt impossible. She reached the door, hand on the handle, and turned back one last time. "You were wrong about something," she said. "You're not your father. Your father never would have pushed me away to save me. He would have dragged me down without a second thought. But you gave me a choice. That makes you better than him. I just wish you could see that." She walked out before he could respond. The door closed behind her with a sound like an ending. Inside the mansion, Dante sank to the floor, head in his hands, and finally let himself break. Stella sat in her childhood bedroom, staring at the contract Marcus had sent over. One signature, and she would be free. Her firm sold. Her marriage ended. Everything back to how it was supposed to be. Her phone rang. "Great. You need to come back." The housekeeper's voice shook. "Please, he's not eating. Not sleeping. He's destroying himself. He told me to leave, Margaret, because he's an idiot." Pause. "And because he found something?" "Something about his father." Stella's heart stopped. "What did he find?" "Papers, hidden in the study. I think you need to see them yourself." The mansion looked darker than she remembered. Stella let herself in with the key she had not yet returned. Margaret met her in the foyer, eyes red from crying. "He's in the study. He's been there for 2 days." Stella walked down the familiar hallway, each step feeling like moving through water. She pushed open the study door. Dante sat at his desk, surrounded by papers. He looked up, and the devastation in his eyes nearly broke her. He came back. Margaret called. Stella moved closer, seeing the documents spread across the desk. Legal papers, medical records, bank statements. "What is all this?" Dante laughed, the sound broken. "The truth. About my father. About everything." He held up a document. "My mother didn't have depression. She had cancer. Aggressive. Terminal. My father knew for 6 months before the accident." Stella sank into the chair across from him. "Dante." He convinced her not to treat it. Told her it was too expensive, that they couldn't afford it. Meanwhile, he was siphoning money into offshore accounts. Dante's hands shook. She didn't drive into that bridge by accident. She did it because she was dying anyway, and the life insurance would pay out for an accident. She sacrificed herself to save me. Tears streamed down Stella's face. God. And my father took that money, built his empire on it, and taught me that love was weakness. Dante looked at her with eyes that had seen too much. "I have been living a lie my entire life." Stella reached across the desk, took his hands. "Loved you. That's not a lie. I pushed you away." His voice cracked, just like he taught me. "I saw you as a sacrifice I had to make, and I let you go because I thought I was protecting you. But I was just being a coward. You were trying to save me." "No." Dante stood, moved around the desk to kneel in front of her. "I was trying to save myself from feeling the pain of losing you. But it didn't work. Because I lost you anyway, and it hurts just as much." Stella cupped his face in her hands. "I didn't sign the contract. I'm not selling the firm. What about Marcus?" "I called the insurance company myself. Told them everything. The arrangement, the timeline, all of it." She smiled through her tears. "Turns out, married couples are allowed to help each other financially. There's no fraud if we were honest about it from the start." Dante's eyes widened. "You tanked Marcus's leverage. I burned it to the ground." Stella pulled him up into her arms. "Because I choose you. Messy, broken, complicated you. I choose us." Dante held her so tight she could barely breathe. "I'm still going to lose the company. There's not enough money to save it all. Then we start over." Together, Stella pulled back to look at him. "My firm is doing well. We can rebuild. It won't be easy, and it won't be what your father built, but it will be ours. Why would you do that? Risk everything for me? Because loving someone means taking risks. Your mother knew that. She loved you enough to sacrifice everything." Stella pressed her forehead against his. and I love you enough to stay and fight. Dante's breath caught. Say that again? I love you. The words felt like freedom. I love you, and I'm not going anywhere. He kissed her then, and it tasted like salt and promises and new beginnings. 6 months later, Stella stood in the empty shell of what would become the new Blackwood headquarters. Smaller than the old building, more modest. But there's Dante came up behind her, wrapped his arms around her waist. You really think we can pull this off? I know we can. Stella leaned back against him. Besides, I'm a pretty good architect. I might know a thing or two about building something from the ground up. We should get married again, Dante said suddenly. For real this time? With flowers and music and all the things we skipped the first time. Stella turned in his arms, smiling. We're already married, I know, but I want to choose you in front of everyone. I want to say the vows and mean every word. I want to start fresh. You're a hopeless romantic. I'm your hopeless romantic, kissed her softly. What do you say? Will you marry me again? Stella looked at this man who had been a stranger, then a convenience, then a complication, and now was simply hers. Broken and healing and choosing love despite every reason not to, as she whispered. Always yes. Outside the empty building, the city hummed with life. Inside, two people who had once been trapped by obligation now stood together by choice. They had lost everything their fathers had built. Lost the money, the status, the cold perfection, but they had found something better. They had found each other in that. Stella thought as Dante spun her around the empty space. Laughing like they were already dancing at their new wedding was worth more than any fortune. They were not perfect. They were not fixed. But they were together, building something real from the ruins of what came before. And sometimes that was enough. Sometimes that was everything. The end.